Hi, lightbringers and starseeds. Welcome to today's impromptu Q&A session. And in this session, I'm just coming on today because I had a download and I wanted to share, to do a Q&A, to do a spiritual discussion with everyone. And with today's session, I also want to just start off, right, with a short prayer for all of us so that whoever tunes in now or after in the replay will receive this beautiful transmission, protected by Source, guided by angels of light and love. And that all the receivers will receive the wisdom, the illumination, the insights that they need from today's transmission, most appropriate to their soul light journey. We ask for Source and the ascended masters and ascended archangels to surround us today in this vortex of light. And may only light, only love, and life force energy surround us in this portal, in this vortex of light today. May this transmission bring us peace, bring us grace, bring us love. And so it is. Beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, angels and ascended masters and the light beings that are here with us today. Hi, Sasha. Hi, Stephanie. Hi, Dominique. So in today's session, I wanted to speak about this concept of spiritual maturity versus, or I shouldn't say versus compared to spiritual confusion. And the reason why this download is coming at this time is because we are living in a time of great confusion at this time. Who is winning the election? Who is going to be in charge of America? Right? The whole world is watching what's happening right now. And so there's a lot of confusion, not only on the physical side of things, but it mirrors into other areas of our lives, right? Like our family lives, relationships, some of them are becoming more difficult, some are ending, careers, right? Friendships are shifting, directions, life purpose are shifting with this 2020 that we've been going through. It's that 2020 clear vision that we're seeing, right, in this now. So I think it's important for us to come together and discuss and really reflect, contemplate on spiritual maturity. Because this spiritual maturity is going to bring us out of this rut, this circle of confusion that we have been going through for a very long time. And I have notes here because you guys know I tend to go off topic. So if I look down, I'm just trying to keep myself on track. And the first thing that I wanted to, share and discuss with you is when we're in the state of spiritual confusion, right? When a person is feeling confused spiritually, are angels real? Are angels not real? Are angels good? Are angels bad? When they're in the state of confusion, right? Usually the first thing that we need to remind ourselves or, that person is integrity. When we're in a state of confusion, we are lacking the connection and grounding into our spiritual, right, personal integrity. And let's talk about what integrity means, right? This means different thing to different people. And so I went on the dictionary, and this is what the dictionary says about integrity. It's about honesty, right? It's about speaking our truth. And this is a challenge for many of you light bringers because we know a bit more than, let's say, compared to some people. And at times it's hard to speak your truth because they cannot see where you can see, right? You can see like farther and more, but they only stay in their own, cycle, their beliefs, which is fine, right? Everyone is on their journey, different time zones, right? But we're all expanding together. But it can be hard for us light bringers to speak our truth. Like, so many people are so set on their beliefs that even when you try to open them up, right? And why not? If why not believe in angels if there's a force, an unseen force that you cannot understand that can help and assist you? Wouldn't that be better than feeling like you're totally alone in this universe? So that's speaking our truth, is asking the right questions to help them reflect, right? And even if they don't believe in your concept, maybe they will come to the realization that, hey, actually, you know what? I might not believe in this concept, but perhaps I am limiting myself in ways, right, like this. So, integrity, right, brings you into spiritual maturity. Is that honesty? And I have to learn this myself too. Even as a healer, sometimes you see things, but you don't want to say it because you don't want to upset the client, or you don't want the person to think, oh, you're telling me what to do. But also, what I have learned, and maybe you too have learned this, is sometimes when we don't speak honestly, it backfires even more. And so nowadays, I really challenge myself that even, when I see, and when a client comes to you for help, I think I have the integrity, right, to tell them what I see that they might not be able to see themselves. Now, are they going to accept it? That's up to them. I have clients and students that are very receptive. And at first, it might not, feel good to know about it. Of course, me too. When my teacher tell me something, I'll be like, "What do you mean? I have more shadows to work on, right? We do this." But after reflecting, you're like, right? They are right. They are true, right? They told me what I need to work on. And so that's me gradually, like, working towards spiritual maturity. And so that's kind of like what we have to realize, is that we need to give them the opportunity, right, to look into, this is what I'm seeing. It's up to you if you accept it or not. There will be people that's gonna say, you know what, this is a bunch of BS. I'm not gonna believe you. Da da da. You're wrong. I don't resonate. Right? I know Teal Swan talked about a video about the dangers of I don't resonate. And it can run into the spiritual community a lot. Like, people just cut things off right away because they don't feel it resonate. But in fact, if you're stuck, you're being shown this one thing, even if your current consciousness don't resonate, right? They're showing you this new thing to help you expand. And so, as a light bringer, maybe you're planting seeds. They might not resonate right away, but maybe a few years later they will. But it's important to have your spiritual integrity, to be honest with a person. So that's number one, right? Is that integrity. And yeah, exactly. Like, a Taoism talks about that quite a lot as well. And the second thing about integrity in the dictionary is about strong moral principles. And I think that's also very important for us, right? Sometimes we tend to, in the spiritual community, bypass things, right? Like simple things. And other healers that talk about this too, like, honoring each other's work, right? If you get inspiration from someone, give them credit, right? Like, when I talk about shadow work, I'm like, hey guys, go check out Teal Swan, Matt Kahn. They talk about shadow work, right? Go look at their materials. Or if I like this person's teachings, right? Taoism or other spiritual healers, and I tell people to go check out their material. So that's like a strong integral principle. And sometimes I find that when we are in that state of spiritual confusion, is we have lost sense of our principle, right? We know that we need to do this thing, but we don't do it, right? So we lose that moral principle. And it is in those moments that we need to come into maturity and say, no, this has to be done, right? It's got to be done. And this is reflecting in what's happening in the world right now with the dark guys and with the gray hats, with the white hats, is that I think in a very long time, humanity have been in the state of spiritual confusion, right? There's a lot of programmings that the dark one use to confuse us. There's programmings that let people know, oh, angels are archons, they're bad. I'm like, that's a programming. There's like pure beings. Yeah, in a way you can look at like other beings as not good. There are like negative beings out there, but archangels and the highest form of angels are pure beings here to help us. Or there are programs where they disconnect people, right, from connecting to oneness, to source. They become too logical, too dependent on science to discover and explain everything. So that's one way, right, where that principle can be affected, right, is that. And so we need to also see into this right now, as people are so disconnected from the unseen. They think, oh, if it cannot explain, then it cannot exist. But even if we open our third eye, there's still so much we don't know. How can we say that we'll ever understand everything? So this is like, a collective thing that we're going on to. Some of us are more awakened and aware and conscious about it. Some people are not. Integrity, third thing, right, from the dictionary, is also about wholeness, sovereignty, which is also something that we are struggling as a collective. A lot of us are the QAnons. We are just holding on to this one candidate to win, right, to win for us. But we're still giving our power away, right? He might not be the person to totally save us, right? He might be the person that helps awaken a lot of people. But we as light bringers still cannot depend on this person to save us. So that's our personal integrities that each of us, light bringers, you guys are working hard. You're doing your inner work, you're doing your inner child work, your healing work, you're here listening. You could be doing something else, but you are here, right, doing this work. And that's integrity right there. What is important, right? Your sovereignty. The next thing about integrity with spiritual maturity is undivided, right? With the election now, you see what the dark one is doing, right? The B, right? Those that support the, one candidate starting with the last name B versus the other T. They are like hating each other. And this is what the dark ones want to see, right? These people dividing this people and they add each other's throat. That creates what they want to see. But light bringers, we know and we can see beyond that. We can see that they're just trying to divide us, right? We are here to anchor the light, right? Whoever wins doesn't matter because it's still us, the people, that have to take the power back. For so long, the dark ones have kept us uncomfortably comfortable. They give you just enough to survive, just enough to make it by your bills, just enough so that you won't revoke. But it's also uncomfortable enough that we have disease, we have health problems, we can't afford all these vitamins or these expensive treatments. They keep us in this uncomfortable state for so long that we just tend to depend on these leaders to do the things for them. But the spiritual maturity phase that we're going through, right? Whether you want to explain it through Taoism, Buddhism, or galactics, right? Galactics seeing us as, are we mature enough to become a galactic civilization? Can we even get along with each other so that we can get along with the Lyrans, with the Syrians, with the Pleiadians, right? All the beings out there. If we can't even do that in our own backyard, our own planet, how can we be part of a galactic civilization? So however we want to see this, right? Our message is being united. Don't let them divide us. And integrity, another thing that the dictionary said, very interesting, is internal consistency. And this we struggle to, right? Many of us that feel us, we are in this struggle and stuckness, is we don't have that inner discipline. And partly due to the trauma that was imposed upon us. But when we take our power back, we also want to realize, well, just because this happened when I was young, I shouldn't really let it define the rest of my life. And that's why we're here, we're healing, we're helping others heal. But it's also that discipline. And I think that a lot of us lack the discipline. And that's why in Taoism, Buddhism, Vedism, they have such a strong morale, integrity of practice that you must do this every day. You must carry water, you must chop wood, you have to do this to keep you in that internal consistency. And so, for those of us that have been stuck in a cycle, why am I not healing? Why am I still stuck in this pattern? We really have to, it's painful sometimes. I went through the same phase to really look in and say, am I being integral to myself here? you know, when I was really depressed for like 5 years, I'm like, I can keep pointing fingers, like point at my rapist, point at like this person, that person. But am I looking into myself? Like I was keep thinking, oh, I need a boyfriend, I need a husband. I'm looking for this person who's gonna be my savior, when I myself didn't even look at myself as my own savior. So that's like the internal discipline, consistency that we need to look into as ourselves. And sometimes it's not fun to look into those aspects. And might not apply to everyone that's listening, but I know that I have new listeners that this might apply to you, because I went through the same phase when I was first starting out my initiation. So it's that discipline, the consistency. And so where does this consistency coming from is your personal power. So go back and commit yourself to practice every day, no excuses. Every day, I started out doing something small, like making my bed. I never used to make my bed when I was depressed and anxious and struggling. But I said, you know what, Tiffany, you're going to wake up and you're going to get your butt to make your bed every day, no excuse. So that's what I started. And then I brought myself a ring. I married myself. I say, I'm going to marry myself so that I stay committed to myself. And that's what I did. And so small acts like that, right, gives you that commitment. And the truth is, no healer, no coach, no trainer can help you with that discipline unless you do it. So if you have been doing a lot of healing sessions, a lot of work, and a lot of books, reading a lot of books, and you're not progressing, that's the time when you need to go into your inner warrior. You got to say, I have to be disciplined. There's no one that I can blame or take accountability or responsibility but myself. So that's what also helped me as well to start to mature more into my spirituality. And the last quality of integrity that we want to talk about with each other today is the lack of corruption. So what is corruption? First thing that we think about corruption is the political system, this guy versus that guy, the darkness that is in the political system, which is a concern, right? Part of being integral as a light bringer to me is not turning a blind eye. Yeah, I take note of what's happening with the election. I take note of human trafficking and things that are happening. We cannot be like, oh, love and light, it does not exist in my reality. If I'm that child being sexually abused, and I know that there are light beings here to help me, but their answer is love and light. This does not exist. Let's not think about it. Then it would disappear. How would that make me feel? And that also echoes into our inner child work as well. So many of us, right, have abandoned, or people around us have abandoned the inner child, that pure aspect, the uncorrupted aspect of ourselves that connect to source, that connect with the unseen. So that's what is important, is that we don't bypass, because the spiritual confusion and innocence is what got us in trouble in the first place. We have turned a blind eye for too long, pretending it does not exist, it's not part of us. This ascension energy means we can no longer do that. We have to choose. We have to clean up. We have to heal. We have to stand strong, right? Unite, be sovereign, and eradicate these things, which is happening now, which is good. And we have a lot of help from the galactics, from the angel realms, from the mystical realms. So no fear agenda here. Let's see if there are any people have anything to share. Hmm. Yeah, there is like this is interesting. So some Taoism institute. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's totally up to your personal choice. You know, some churches would say only our words are true, do not go out beyond this. Or there's a reason why they do that, because a lot of people get confused. Once again, our topic today, spiritual confusion, is they go out and they go explore these different paths without finding themselves first. And then they get so confused and they go into psychosis and they have a breakdown. So in those like traditional school, they tell you to stick to their teachings because they've seen these things happen where students misunderstand the teachings, they get confused, and then they leave, they go integrate other teachings without fully digesting what they've already received, and it creates a whole mess. And that's kind of, what I want to see is that, we'll be able to talk to each other more and be back like, back in those days when we can sit down and talk to each other more, as opposed to having just like 1 hour here and there, because it can create confusion. I have seen it. I can say one thing in a 1 hour video and people will interpret it in a different way. So yeah, those institute, they have a reason why they want to do it. But in the other hand, once you absorb it, once you sit there, you've absorbed their teachings, and I feel that you can explore other spiritual lineage. And that's kind of what I did. I would stick with one teacher for like a whole year, right? Or stick with one healer for the whole year and just learn from them, absorb, process, integrate their teachings. And once I feel like, okay, I understand now, then I will go into a different lineage to learn. So yeah, very, very balanced way of viewing our spiritual learning. So yeah, so we explore integrity, right? We explore going from spiritual confusion to spiritual maturity. The other thing that I feel that is so important for us to remember, whether for ourselves or if you're a healer yourself, to help your clients and your own student remember, is humbleness. Oftentimes, we've been trained to be rushing things, right? Instant gratification. Amazon delivery tomorrow. um, Instagram open now and I can see everything. And sometimes that mental, right, program or structure, people project it into their own spiritual growth. People will have like one hour session and then they would be like, it's not working. I did not connect to my light language. I'm like, but it took me like 3 years of consistent practice to activate my light language. So slow down, be humble, right? We need to remember that, especially when we're working with the higher energies, right? We need to be humble, we need to be grateful. So that's spiritual maturity. When people are in the confusion state, why isn't this happening? Why am I growing fast? And why am I channeling? Why isn't this happening? They're asking why, right? The confusion. But when you think about the master, right? Buddha, right? He just sat and meditated. He just learned and he just be. And he was devoted. He was integral, committed, and eventually he enlightened. And even after his enlightenment, he was still practicing meditation. So that's what we have to remember as light bringers, right? We need to remind ourselves that, and then we need to remind those that we are supporting this message as well. Then the next point is false light. So false light is a very big and very complicated topic. False light is not something new. Gigi Young has talked about false light, right? She's a very, very good channeler. But false light is coming up lately because false light can create a sense of inflating the ego. So a lot of people, right, they go into spirituality and channeling not really with a pure intention. They go into it because they want power. They want to become like super rich, super famous. And there's nothing wrong with having abundance, but the intention also counts as well. So false light in itself, right, can inflate the ego. So for example, if you're channeling, right, and there's a being telling you you're so wonderful, you are the Messiah, you are the prophet, da 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 da. That's false light. And a lot of beings can be in the astral higher realm, but their messages, right, can inflate the ego. And that's where I try to always remind my clients, if you're listening, or students, the messages that come forward to you is to empower you, not to feed the ego. So please remember that, right? If you get a message that in the past life you were, very connected to Archangel Michael, one way is you can look at it and be like, wow, okay, I'm this great person, I'm special, and that connect with Archangel Michael? Or are you going to be like, wow, I am so grateful Archangel Michael connected with me. Now, can I infuse Archangel Michael's energy into my Reiki? Can I infuse his love into my teachings? Right? That's the two aspects. So, and get down to the shadow, because this can be very sneaky, right? Especially the more spiritually advanced one, our shadow can be very, very sneaky. We have to take extra time to, delve deep into ourselves. So the other thing about false light that I've noticed is it creates an addiction, right? It's like crack or something. Like people like really, really can't wait for the next one. So, and I'm not pointing fingers at anyone, but just like people that claim they know when this thing is going to happen, or they claim they are, reincarnation of Jesus or something like that. And you're kind of like, wait, but an incarnation of Jesus wouldn't claim such thing, would he? So you just kind of ask yourself these questions and discern, like, is this like false light teachings? And false light also create a sense of dependency, like your life is dependent on them. And unfortunately, right, in the spiritual confusion, people do get affected by false light. For example, this one person paid like a psychic like $60,000 for one reading. I'm like, what? Who? What? Wait, $60,000 can feed so many people. And any people that come to you and they, you sat down, they tell you, well, you have this, and you cursed, you need to give me like this money to release this curse. Is like I feel that's kind of false light. Yeah, we have entities, we have curses, but there's a different way of conveying that and empowering the person, as opposed to telling them you need to pay them this amount of money. So just discern, right? Discern like where the person is coming from, even when it's channeling, right? And I do this all the time. Like, I don't know everything. I'm not always 100% right. And I meditate before I come and do a session. So I make sure that I'm not trying my best to project my own distortions in my messages. But I'm not perfect, and I'm fairly aware of that. So we just want to have that like discernment, right? To see, okay, is this person really trying to help, or, is there an ulterior agenda? And what are some false light, right, red flags that you guys have found in your own experience? Maybe you guys can share, so the newer people, the newer awakener, can also, right, discern as well. Wording, yes. So wording, so fear mongering. If someone is telling you will be poor for the rest of your life unless you pay me this, I'm like, okay, that's false light. Like, right away. um yeah. Yes, test spirits as well. So when you guys are learning channeling, rather through my courses and that stuff, I always say you want to test them with some question like, are you of light? Are you of love? Are you here to help me? Are you a selfless being, service to others? You want to test the being. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And um, yeah, I know me neither. I can afford 60 grand, but some people can. So thank you, Laurie. You share a lot of good stuff too in the comments section. So thank you. But you guys all share really amazing, quite like amazing wisdom. I'm like, wow, this is like, and this is what I really love about you guys, because you guys are like, very conscious, and you guys speak your truth, and you guys are not afraid to share, right? So that I think is so beautiful. Yeah, and for like the other thing is like you hear strange messages, like somebody channeling an ascended master, and the message would be like, "They are only one chosen one," or "You're not chosen for this because you're not enough." Or I'm like, wait, what? Why would an ascended master say something like this? That doesn't make sense. So even if someone claims they are channeling this being or that being, you also have to be like, does the message make sense? Is it like, would Kuan Yin really say something like that? So we gotta discern, discern, discern. The next thing about like spiritual maturity that really is learned through experience and time, and I think you guys will also relate, is sacred boundaries. And as light workers or light bringers, we are, always talk about like sacred boundary, like be careful who you give, don't give too much, don't overgive, da 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 da. But the other side of the sacred boundaries I also feel is very important is receiving, right? So, because a lot of times we just talk about, oh, we just give a lot and we don't reserve energy for us, we don't take care of ourselves, but we don't really talk about what are we allowing into our field? What are we allowing ourselves to receive? And that's something that I had to learn in my own journey as well, from spiritual confusion to more spiritual maturity, is when someone texts you, when someone email you, right, you have the choice. You have the choice to let their energy into your field or not. And so if you are feeling you're in the state of confusion, right, you're tired, you just stuck, you gotta think, is there things that I'm letting into my life that affects my integrity, that in fact affects my inner peace, that takes away from me, and it doesn't really serve me? In fact, it hurts me, or it causes more confusion. So it's what you receive, and that's why start to become very a little bit more picky about what you consume. And on social media, I don't just follow any accounts, follow the ones that are you know integral. They speak about wisdom. If there are shows on Netflix that doesn't align with you anymore, just let it go, because when you watch those things, right, whatever you receive, you're creating an emotional response or an energetic field, and it can linger sometimes, or it can trigger something within you. And these things can be very subtle, right? Like watching horror movies. We never like watching horror movies, right, as empaths and light bringers, because I don't know, I just can't even look at it. I'm like, who in the right mind would think about making a movie torturing some person? Like, it makes no sense. And we now know why, because the dark ones use these outlets to lower the collective's vibration. And in a way, they do these movies because that's what they're doing with their rituals, right? And if we watch it, we kind of are like subconsciously allowing them to do it, because we don't say that, hey, this is not right. Like, why would you make a movie like this? Why would you, broadcast a movie like this in the collective? So I think this is where like our discernment of what you are allowing into your field, that also we have to be more mature. It's not about, oh, we're not being love and light. reptilians can exist, that's fine. We are all one. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to allow them in my field. Like, no way, right? Entities can exist, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to let the bad one into my field. No, like, this is my body. I'm a sovereign being, so I get to choose. So that's like also spiritual maturity as well. And I know it's easier said, but once again, here I'm inviting you guys to really feel into what I'm trying to say, right? Really feel into, oh yeah, there are really time when I'm letting things in when I shouldn't have, And I am I also reflect on that too. And sometimes I'm like, you know what? I allowed that to happen. So I had no one else to blame but myself. And I need to be more integral to myself. So when I was just starting out as a healer, I would take any clients, even if they were mean to me, even if they were disrespectful. I was so afraid to say no because I'm like, well, if I say no, then it's bad for my karma. Then my higher soul's gonna like not be happy because I'm not being in service. But now I've come to the point where I'm like, if this person is disrespectful, I literally just cancel the appointment. Or I tell them, you know what? I don't think we're a good match because they like laughing at the messages or something like that. Then I'm like, no, this is like not respectful. I don't need to help that. I don't need to be in this space. So I just say lovingly, we are not a good match. Maybe someone else would be better for you. Or a few years later, maybe you will be, more ready for this teaching. Then I just let them go, which is great because now I don't have this upset myself to getting beat up by those energies, and they can go find another way that help themselves better. So yeah, this is a big test for us light bringers. Is the universe will kind of give you these like spiritual tests. It's like you test the entities to see if they're good. We get tested to see how we mature enough, right? And these tests come up again until you master it. So it's very funny. Sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, my higher self is probably laughing at me right now in a good way. Yeah, so energy vampires definitely like, I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I used to feel like I need to have them around because I need to help them or something like that. But now I'm just like, no. Because it doesn't help them learn. Like we enable their behavior. We just are enabling them to treat us and other people badly. And I don't want to be part of that anymore. So next thing about spiritual maturity when I reflected today is um, death, an open heart. There's one thing about seeing things, and this happened with spiritual confusion a lot, is during the session, I using myself an example, when a message is shared, right? The new initiates will see the message in a certain way, but the more experienced that have been practicing for a while, they can see into the message in a deeper manner. Like I've used this in another example. Like someone, right, was in a session, and I have to be really broad about this. They expect the message to be a certain way, but the message came out a different way, right? And then they're like, well, this doesn't reflect what I'm going through right now because we are fighting a lot. But then I, as someone that has been doing this a while, and I'm not the best or the most perfect, I'm seeing the message and I'm saying the guys are trying to help you be more heart opening, right? More unconditional loving. But they refuse, or they block it, or they're not ready to hear it. And that's fine. But that's like, how deep are you allowing yourself to go in? And I noticed the people that really take the books, the videos, the courses, and really see results with it are the ones that allow themselves to sink deeper, right? They're not like, oh, I don't understand it, so this is like, I'm going to reject it. They really take the time to be like, okay, my guy said this. What can it really mean? Like, what does it mean to me? Are there a deeper layer to this? And then they take time to process and integrate. And then they really absorb it and really, get with the vortex, like Abraham Hicks says, and really rise above their own blockages. So that's why I'm talking about spiritual maturity. It's like wine, you have some depth to your spiritual growth. It's like a flower, right? You can see the flower. Yeah, it's got pink, it's got white, it's got many petals. But when you see from a spiritual maturity, you see, wow, the veins on the flowers that carries the water molecules into each every flower. You can see the flower from its birth, from a seed, how many years it has to grow, the sunlight that it has to absorb, the rainstorm that it has to weather, the beetles, the squirrels that have climbed to the branches of this flower. You can see that, right? So that's depth, that's spiritual maturity. When you're washing rice, right? When you're washing vegetables, yeah, you can wash it, and be done with, but spiritual maturity is your fingers deep into the rice. Wow, so beautiful. The water mixing in with the rice. You feel the texture of the rice in your hands. You feel the love that Gaia has poured into the rice to nourish you today. The elements that is in the rice itself, the sun, the water, the earth, the wind, the bees, the farmers, the grocery workers that made this meal possible, right? Sometimes I think all the way to, wow, this meal is possible for me because of all these people. And I see all of that in the rice that I'm washing. And so that's also, right? Spiritual maturity is looking deeper into the physical. And it also helps, right? When you apply the same principle, not only in your own life, but seeing in another person. This person might annoy the heck out of you. Every time you see them, you're like, ah. But can you really see into them? When you look into their eyes, can you see their inner child? Can you see the struggles that they have gone through? Can you see the divine creator within them? Wow, so beautiful, right? It makes you tear up and makes your heart so open. And then imagine applying the same depth to yourself in the mirror. And you see your eyes. Wow. You see your skin. You see your fingers. How much have your fingers, right, have done for you? Wow, so much. How many steps have your feet carried you? So much. When you see from this perspective, what comes is spiritual refinement. You see this beauty within everything, right? That interconnectedness, that oneness. And you see that alchemy that happens. Wow, this has happened in my past, but I can see why it happens now. I can see why I'm confused about my purpose. Now I know what I need to do. It brings forth a very ease, a very graceful energy when we shift from confusion to spiritual maturity. And that grace, right, is what all the Ascended Masters try to teach us, is that ease, that allowing, that love, right? When you are closing your eyes and you are imagining yourself sitting next to Buddha, Kuan Yin, when you're sitting next to Yeshua or Jesus, wow, can you feel into that vibration? It's so out of this world. It's nothing that we can describe with words. And it is that essence that you are here to share with the world. So that's kind of all I have for what I want to share today, is that beauty, that spiritual maturity that comes forth. And wow, that was so good, right, guys? Just imagining or calling forth the energy of the ascended master, you already like, oh my goodness, all my problems dissolve. Nothing matters but this beautiful flower, this connection that we have as a group right now and with the ascended master. And that is what we're really here to do, right? It's beyond the election, it's beyond these things, it's more than that. And so, yeah, that was beautiful. So that's what I have for you guys today. That was my reflection from a time of spiritual confusion back to spiritual maturity. Let's see, what are you guys sharing with each other? Oh, yeah, there are spells that's cast in movies, TV, music. Yes, yes, absolutely. When you guys watch TV, right, you can use a shungite, you can use organite, or I just use like a film of golden light to say, you know what? Only pure energy comes through from this screen. And I do that with my cell phones, with my computer, because there's reptilian technologies. And I feel bad saying reptilians because there's so many reptilians. I'm like stereotyping. The draconians. They use holographic viruses through EMF, and the star seeds and the light workers, earth angel, however we label ourselves, I'm really sensitive to that. So there's also a reason why people, when they get into gaming, they get so entranced into it, because literally like sucking your energy. And that's how they harvest energy from us in a way. So yes, definitely protect yourself with EMF, with your electronics. Yay! Beautiful. Yes, and there's so many reptile looking beings that are actually good. So, and then there are Pleiadians looking beings that are bad. So we have to discern. So that's very important. So thanks for bringing that up. And what are you guys learning this week? Like what downloads came to you guys today? I guess the other thing about spiritual confusion to maturity that also comes is you get an unlimited way of creativity. A lot of people, when they stuck in the spiritual ego or shadow, is that they feel like they have to steal other people's work, or they have to prove themselves in order to, you know, um, be recognized. But when you come into spiritual maturity, you don't need to feel like you have to prove yourself anymore. It's like when Jesus and Buddha was here. I always use them as examples, but they really have like been very good examples for us to learn. Is that even they had haters, even they had people that didn't believe in them, and they don't care. They just do their thing. They just vibe high, and their message gets spread throughout the world. And even their teachings get distorted sometimes, but they know that the ones that seeks the truth will find the answers. The other question I have, guys, is I get a lot of questions like this, like, am I an incarnation of this ascended master or archangel? And I'm answering this here because I think it's an important discussion, and I'm not saying that I know everything. So this is just what I feel. Is that we have to understand our perspective. Usually, when people ask me, like, am I an incarnation of this or that? I'm be like, why do you want to know? What is the purpose of this question? What does it really, what are you really trying to achieve with this question? Because in a way, right, when you ask a higher self, they're gonna say yes, because a higher self view things, right, as one, right? If you guys are familiar with like law of one materials, they always like we are all one, there's no separation. So from the higher self, they think that yeah, we are connected. There's a bit of Jesus in you, there's a bit of Jesus in that person, there's a little bit of Jesus in me, and we, are all one, and we see each other in that light. But am I going to claim myself as Jesus? No, because I am not. So there are some times that we just have to be more humble when it comes to our spiritual journey. And it's one way to take your past life, right? And integrate and be like, okay, well, this is the lesson. This was who I am, but not to become too identified with it. And I've talked about this many times in my other videos. So it'll be a review for some of the veteran viewers and new information to the new viewers is you take information like a ribbon, right? They guide you, but don't hold on to it too tight. Even labels like Octurians and Pleiadians, because at the end of the day, those are all constellations, right? Those are all, yeah, one part of us, but we shouldn't wear it like a badge of honor and, think that we are somehow more special because there's so many Octurians, so many Pleiadians, right, on Earth. So I know most of you guys don't do that, but just in case for the super, super new people. Sorry, I went off topic again. So understanding it in terms of soul braids, imprints, and blueprints. Soul braids are you have a connection to an ascended master, and all of you guys have it. Some of us feel more connected to Archangel Michael, some more connected to Kuan Yin, right? Some to Ascended Isis, some to Saint Germain, for example. So in a way, yeah, your soul is connected because this Ascended Master, right, have viewed you as a child light and have taken you on as a student. So that's kind of like soul braids. There's a connection that braids your soul with that Ascended Master. And we all have this. Then there's soul blueprints. So for example, when you're in a reading and someone tell you your soul is very connected from the angelic realm. So like I've shared with you guys before, my soul is more connected to the elemental realm. So when you ask me about dragons and fairies and stuff, I get so excited. I do have connection with the angelic realm, for example, but not very many. So when it comes to angel stuff, like I still have to learn and I still have to channel to like understand their realm. It doesn't just come super easily for me, but I have to activate it is what I'm trying to say. And I hope that, you can understand what I'm trying to convey here beyond the English words. So let's say your soul, right, has been trained or mentored by Archangel Michael for many lifetimes. His light codes is going to be imprinted on your soul like a stamp, right? For example, very simplified, Archangel Michael teaches what? Integrity, right? Guardianship. He's more like a father sometimes to different people. So he imprints these light codes onto your soul like a stamp, like a passport. And then you carry his teachings, parts of his consciousness imprinted in your soul. So then people, when you do readings, right? Yes, their souls, your higher self are connected to the energy of these Ascended Master, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you are an incarnation of the Ascended Master. Because, if you are, you wouldn't be asking that question in the first place, would you? That's just what I feel makes sense to me. I don't know. So I think that, from our perspective, when we look up into the higher dimension, when we see this imprint, some people mistaken it spiritual confusion to they are that incarnation of that angel. But to me, and also, other mystics like Gigi Young also have taught about like angels don't really have karma, like they are pure messengers of God. So in a way, how can we be an reincarnated aspect of Archangel Michael? Like that doesn't make sense. So that's just my view. I don't know how other people want to believe in this or how other people want to, explain this. But I get a lot of questions like this. So I just want to clarify. And to me, I always, always, always think it's so important to be humble. So yeah, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, really. It's just what you do with the information. Great, you're connected to Archangel Michael, but what are you going to do with this information? And, some people use it as a power, like some, false prophet. They say, I am the da da da's incarnation. And, but then there are also traditions that view it in a very balanced manner. Like some traditions will find the soul that can succeed this guru's teachings or lineage. So that's different than what I'm trying to say here. And there are royal souls like Jesus and Buddha. These are royal souls that came down through a certain cosmic alignment to share these teachings. And I don't think this only happens on Earth. I think this happens on other planetary system as well. So we also have to remember that, to be humble. The other thing, to those that have asked me this question, if you're in a incarnation of so and so ascended master, the thing I would draw you towards is energy, right? If you are connected to this aspect, and I'm not gonna say it's wrong or right. Who am I to know, right? I don't know. I don't know everything. Is that look at it as a form of energy that you're emitting. You don't have to tell people that you are an incarnation of that, incarnation of that. People can just feel it from your field. People can just sense it through your field. And Buddha and Jesus never go around and say, oh, I am the incarnation of da da da. They just teach. They just taught love and compassion. So I think that's more important than trying to figure out, if you're an incarnation of so and so. So that's how I would answer that question. Oh, and this is a good question, guys, too. Thank you, Jeremy. Let's talk about this together. So, is there a difference between ascended Isis versus Isis, the Egyptian goddess? So, this I wanted to speak to you guys about too, because it's such an interesting topic. And I think as we ascend more, we'll get to learn more. But to me, I think there's different layers of it. It's just like, there's many me, there's many yous, right? We're just seeing each other right now in this vibration, but we have an aspect in the higher realm, an aspect of us that is in the angelic realm. There is an aspect of us that is in the elemental realm, that is in second density, first density, fourth density. And within the densities, there's different octaves and different timelines. It's like so complicated to understand with the human mind. But to me, when I connect, I always ask for the ascended Isis, because there has been corrupted timelines, like I've talked about in that corrupted Egyptian timelines. And there are corrupted timelines where the energy of these ascended master have been infiltrated, right? And the energy is not as pure. So when you connect, let's say, with the Egyptian gods, or the what's the other pantheon, the Greek pantheon, for example, you want to ask for the ascended consciousness. Because there's also, right, they incarnate here as extraterrestrial being. And I believe a lot of the Egyptian gods are very connected to the Syrian star system. And I know some of you guys resonate and might not, but that's just kind of what I feel so far. And probably the same thing with, the Greek pantheon. They are most likely maybe just extraterrestrials that were here and were seen as gods. But even then, right, we can access their stories, their soul lessons through their higher consciousness. Same thing with Jesus and Buddha, right? When they were here, they made what we would see as mistakes too, right? You can see it. They recorded it. But what they did with it was that they forgive themselves, and they taught us how to forgive ourselves. So it's important for us to connect with the ascended aspect of whoever we're working with. Archangel Michael, Isis, Kuan Yin. So that's how I would answer that question, but let's see what other people think too. And that's also important because Isis is a very, very primordial, ancient goddess energy. And like we talked about in this video about false light, the false light, right, look at Isis as someone that they can draw dark energy from. Whereas light workers look at Isis as someone that is the divine mother. We draw divine energy from Isis. So once again, right, that word in itself, once again, is how you use the pen. I always use this analogy is, yeah, there's this energy available for you to access. How are you going to access it? What are you going to do with this energy? So I think that's more important. And let's see, did I answer all the questions I have today? The reincarnation things, spiritual maturity. I think I did. So let's see. Tahiti. Oh, Tahiti. Yes. So yeah, with Tahiti or Toth. Also, you want to be very discerning because yes, there's a corrupted timeline, corrupted file, just like in computers that have like the distorted Tahiti. But then there is the ascended Tahiti. So you want to, when you connect, ask. And if it doesn't feel right, trust the energy, right? And, don't connect. There, it's like as above, so below. Like when you look into the ascended master, you can also pull things that is helpful for you. And maybe not everything that they teach resonates with you. Same thing with me, right? Not everything I say is going to resonate with everyone. You take what works and what resonates and you move on. It's like reading a book. Oh, from this book you learn about this, great. From this book you learn about that, great. And then that you create your own spiritual development. So yeah, I think that, really important. So through Tahiti, the ascended consciousness, I learned about the emerald energy. And the emerald energy is really good for me because it really helps protects me with the work that I do. So when I visualize that emerald light around myself, I feel so much peace and I feel very cleansed. So through Tahiti, that's what activate in me, right? And that's basically all I work with him so far about. The other channeling materials that I did, that I kept to myself just for my own personal spiritual journey. But just because you work with an ascended master, don't feel like you always need to constantly connect with them and everything that they say, everything that they embody. Just get what is most activating for you at this time. Okay, what is the higher self? This is an interesting question too. I look at the soul and higher self differently. And I know that different teachers, different school looks at it differently. This is from my understanding. The soul is an actual like soul, like a thing, like an energy. And that's why we can do soul retrieval, soul alchemy, soul healing. And the dark ones do soul reaping, right? The dark ones, they trap pieces of the soul through spells, through rituals, things like that. So the soul is an actual, like, to me, when I see it, it's like a blob of energy. And it comes and go, it can morph. The higher self, I look at it as the outer layer of the soul, and it envelops the soul. The higher self to me is the sum of all of our aspects of the soul. So a higher self knows about all your multidimensional selves. And that's why when we do healing, we ask the higher self, because the higher self can see into all the timelines. Your higher self can see into all the probabilities of all your timelines and how they intervene with each other. So that's how I look at the higher self. It's more like a consciousness that sees into the energy of the soul. And that's just how I envision it. So to me, I don't think a higher self has a form. I think the higher self was more like, it just looked like a feeling or a light to me. And when I in sessions, when I say, dear so and so's higher self, please connect with us during this session, or even my higher self. When their higher self or my higher self connects, I feel this energy from my spine tingling up. So that's when I know the higher self is connected. And you're going to be different than me. When you connect with your higher self, you might get like a peppermint sensation, or you might feel your heart expanding when you connect with your higher self. So everyone is different. The higher self is like, yeah, the overseer of all the timelines, and the soul in itself can have blockages, right? This is in Taoism, it's in Vedism, shamanism. That's why we heal the soul, because the soul holds like energies, imprints, and things like that. Hi, Dan. Yes, duality every level. I think the duality goes like less and less as we rise up in vibration. So that's what I believe in anyway. Thank you, Adam. Thank you for joining. And let's see, any other things, any other question, things that you guys want to share with fellow light workers? You can use the chat over there. Awesome. Oh, I'm glad, Laurie. That's amazing. So, what Laurie's talking about is before we go to bed, we do a prayer to ask Archangel Michael for protection. And one of my friends taught me this. She was like, ask for Archangel Michael to protect your soul, your heart, your mind, your body, everything when you go to sleep. So, that's what I do. And it really does help. I haven't had nightmares in a very, very long time. And I used to not do it because I felt that I was bothering Archangel Michael. But then I realized how silly that thought is. So I just released it. And I'm just like, Archangel Michael, please help me with this. And Archangel Michael, right? He's an angelic being. And I'm using he, but really, it's not really. Can we really quantify the angel's energy? He has all these angels working for him. It's like he will never run out of energy, so don't worry. You can ask angels for help. Twin flames. Okay, let's talk about twin flames and twin souls. I don't know, what do you guys think? Twin flames, twin souls, and soul energy. So there are some people that feel that you have many twin flames, and some things you have one twin flame. For me, I feel that a twin flame energy is activated by two soulmates, because I've been single for a long time, and if I was single and someone told me that there's only one soul in this entire universe is my twin flame, I would get very disappointed. So I didn't believe in that. I'm like, no, this universe is like so vast, so infinite. How can we just have one twin flame? I don't know. I just think it's an energy that we activate with soulmates. So that's what I believe in. But you can believe in whatever you want, because your belief shapes your reality. And thank you so much. You guys are so nice. So yeah, but there is twin souls, Beth. I think that's what you're referring. Twin souls is one soul split into two. Then that's like a twin soul. Twin flames, I believe there's more opportunities when it comes to twin flames, because I always like to give myself options and more. If you are connected to source, you have more choices. So I don't like to limit myself to think I only have one twin flame. I am with one of my soulmate who we have activated twin flame energy together. So yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, and then there's like, people believe there's many soulmates, but one twin flame that works too. And your twin flame is not always physical either, guys. Like, so many of you guys have twin flames that are not even incarnated. Some are like your galactic family. So I'm just saying that don't feel bad or feel like, oh my God, you're doing like there's something so wrong, or you're being punished by karma because you can't find your twin flame in this life. Maybe your twin flame is one of your spirit guide in another realm, or they are not incarnated at this moment. So not to say they won't, right? There's also walk-ins, right? That can happen. But yeah, don't limit yourself. Don't look at it as though you're being punished or you'll be single forever. There are star seeds that I have seen that they are just here for the sake of being in service, and they don't want any karma attached to this planet, so they won't have a partner or children, so they can leave with as little karma as possible. And they are okay with that. So the ones that I've talked to that they know this, they like, yeah, that's, feels I'm completely okay with that. So there's so many different options and different scenarios, It's like it's totally based on your choice. Yeah, twin flames can finish each other's conversation and have telepathy. Is true. Yes, Diana, thanks for sharing that. That's so important to remember as well. Is once you activate your life path and your mission, it become more easier for your twin flame to come into your path, because it's such a high vibrational energy that you have to be in a certain state, a certain vibration to uphold the vibration. So, if you want your twin flame, focus on manifesting your purpose first. And I see this happen a lot in my journey and other people's journey. The moment they are like, you know what, screw it, I'm not going to look for a boyfriend. I'm going to start my healing business. I'm going to work on myself. And then, boom, the twin flame comes. Because you're in that consciousness of, let me serve. Supposed to, I want this. So it's like the back door of getting to the twin flame. Right. This is a good point too. So, I just lost it. Someone said twin flame doesn't always have to be romantic. So that's true. So your twin flame can actually be, some people's twin flame are their mothers or their daughters, their family members that they work really well with each other, and then they're here to create with each other. So it doesn't have to be always be romantic. And soulmates as well doesn't always have to be human. They can be your pet. They can be, your like animals, or doesn't always have to be human. Is it safe to astral travel right now? It's a little bit lighter compared to 2 weeks ago. So yeah, with astral travel, you have to be careful. Some of you guys are very advanced and like veteran travelers, so you guys know what you're doing. But if you're brand new, make sure you take a course somewhere from someone that's reputable, to make sure you do all the precautions, because it's one thing to trust yourself and empower yourself, and then it's the other to think you know everything, invincible, and then you can still learn from your mistake, but I like to take the easier way. So astral travel is easier now, definitely, compared to 2 weeks ago. Ooh, cool. Yeah. So a lot of people is saying, that's how they meet their twin flame, is that they weren't looking for each other, but then they just came. Same thing with mine too. I was not looking. It was like once in my 20 something year life, I was not looking, and then he came. So, and then when I first met him, I didn't even realize he was my twin flame. I just looked at him and like, this guy has, caught my eye. But my eye was set on my service. I'm like, okay, I need to work on myself. I need to share. I need to get out there and anchor the light. And it took a few months for us to develop into friends, and then a few months into like a relationship. So yeah. Yes, cloak yourself. Oh, and I also learned something new the other day. I want to share with you guys entity removal. So what I was shown in the meditation last week was that the Ascended Master have opened like a portal. That's just how I see it, right? They open a portal and then they are like drawing these parasites and dark entities out of Earth. And it happens now and then. Sometimes it's shown to me, sometimes not. It just kind of comes. And so there's been like a major purge that happened, I think, just after Halloween. So some of you, if you've been feeling tired and stuff, that's you're feeling the detox effect collectively afterwards. So that happened. And after you remove an entity, you want to ask your higher self to clear the pathway so that they don't come back and find you. If the soul lesson has been learned, if you have done your work, you're like, okay, this is done, I don't need this entity to train me anymore. I have learned my lesson, so I'm going to release this entity now. After you release them, you want to like scribble, like erase the energetic pathway. Some people call that cord cutting, but energetically you can also clear that path so that they don't find you again, and that will make your entity removal more efficient. So just wanted to share that. Yes, protect yourself. Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good. Good for you, Steve. That's amazing. Hi, Claudia. Nice to see you. Hi, Raymond. Oh, wow. We've been going on for a while, so we should end soon. But it's fun. It's fun to hang out. It's fun to, talk about some downloads and share with each other. It's really amazing. Yeah, when you do astral travel, make sure you like protect yourself. Like when I do healing sessions, it is astral traveling, right? I spend the first 10 minutes like before the session protecting, invoking everything, and then once I'm in the session, we are invoking, protecting. I ask all my treasures and gifts to activate, protect me, my dragon guides, angels, everybody. It's like a party. So I also cloak myself when I do healing as well. Because once you open up yourself, right, in the spiritual realm, is an unseen realm, but can be seen with the third eye or your spiritual channels. You want to and I talked a little bit about this in another video, so I'm sorry if I repeat myself, but repeating is good. It reminds and it helps the newer watchers to learn these. Is you want to have your astral armor. You have your armor, like Archangel Michael, how he's often depicted. That's what he's teaching us, that armor. You can have your shield, you can have your sword or whatever of light that protects you. I also add a cloak as well. So that cloaks me and cloaks my energy. So that if I'm removing entity for someone, that entity doesn't come back and find me. Right? So I cloak myself and I make sure that, this cloak hides my energetic signature. And at the end of the session, I'm disconnecting and also scrambling the field, right? And also detaching any energetic cords both ways, right? Rather, I'm expecting a result or they expecting a result or any type of attachment, I cleanse it all. So That's what I do in terms of entity removal. So that might help you if you're a healer and you're listening to me, and this might be helpful to you, or if you're doing it yourself, it would be very helpful. So every time when I learn something new, I just share. So, uh, what do I think about quantum? Oh, QHHT regression. I haven't done one actually. I have done hypnosis before. It's fun. It's interesting. So yeah, but QHHT, I think you have to do it in person. But there are other quantum healing techniques you can do distant, and that works pretty well for me. So yeah, so trouble is like, I wish these things are taught in school, and it used to be like in the prime of Lemuria and the prime of Atlantis, you have the mystery schools, right? That have mystics that teach these things. And back then, the mystics, are part of society. They are not rejected like nowadays, like people think we're crazy, oh, this person talking about entities and angels, whatever. Like back then it was like common knowledge, or it's accepted. And it is this like infiltration of the dark ones that try to disconnect people from source, that they start to ostracize the mystics. And now we are here to say we are back. The light always wins, so it can't get rid of us. So we are here again. And this time we are winning. Ah, cool. Awesome. Well, that was a really fun session. Is there anything else anyone want to talk about, or anything that anyone want to share? And it's 444. Wonderful. I love this. So I've covered everything I want to share today. That's great. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, every lightbringer out there that is co-creating this vortex of light together. Cannot do this without you. So thank you, thank you, thank you for this co-creation. And I ask for Source and the Ascended Masters, Archangels, to bless every soul that have taken part in this vortex of light today. Let a piece of this light go on with their day. Bless their heart. Bless their day. We thank you, Source. We thank you to the Archangels and the Ascended Masters of Love, Light, and Life Force for watching over us, guiding us, assisting us today. We ask for your greatest light to shine upon earth and humanity. And in our humble, grateful, and genuine heart, we send gratitude to all light beings, named and unnamed, that have joined us, rather in the physical sense or in the spiritual sense. We thank you for this light. We thank you for this love. Wonderful. Awesome. Well, that was super fun. So guys, go out there, right? Shine your light, work your magic. Don't be afraid. Be a little bit shameless sometimes. My workers have too many shame trauma. So I'm like, let's be a little shameless. Just, go out there and share what, helps you, and share information. And it doesn't always have to be you, right? Some of you that are even more shy or don't feel like this is part of your mission. Share other people's work, share other people's articles or videos, so other people can find this information. Because I found a lot of light workers are connectors. They're like spider webs. They connect people to where they need to go. So that's maybe one of your soul path, and your purpose is to be a connector, a facilitator. Well, let me know in the comments section if there's anything else you want to learn for the next live, and then I will contemplate and meditate on it and see, what I come up with, and we can talk to each other again. Sending you lots of love and lots of light. We'll talk to you soon again. Bye.